Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Karkadash. Shalom to the elders for preaching the word truthfully and sincerely. And shalom to the Akim, scattered in the four corners of the globe, preaching the word truthfully and sincerely as well too. And I say shalom to the Akim out there. And this is a sit-down lesson from MSN.com, story by Karen Brittel, published 6 hours ago by Reuters. As it reads, dollar declines slow as investors wait on Fed. It says the dollar dipped against a basket of currencies on Monday after last week suffering its largest weekly decline this year as Treasury yields tumbled but held above more than 1 year lows reached on Friday with no major catalyst to drive market direction. This week is likely to see the dollar consolidated as investors wait on the Federal Reserve meeting next week, when the U.S. Central Bank is expected to hike rates by an additional 25 base points. Even though, we've been seeing market had a good solid game, I believe Thursday and Friday of last week, and as of today of Monday. So we're going to see how the markets react for this week of this, of this brand new week of July, And I'm going to read it again. It says, this week likely to see the dollar consolidated as investors wait on the Federal Reserve meeting next week, when the U.S. Central Bank is expected to hike rates by an additional 25 base points. The pace of last week's dollar decline seems unusual large, says Mark Chandler, chief market strategist at the Bamela-Burn Global Frex in New York. Nothing that the market should steady and see form dollar this week. This week's main economic focus will be retailer sales reported on Tuesday, though the data is unlikely to sway the path of monetary policy. The Fed funds future trade art pricing is an additional 32 basic points of tightening, with the benchmark rate expected to peak 5.40% in November. The implies that the markets see a low chance of furthering interest rate increase after the Fed's July 25th and 26th meeting. The U.S. Treasury yield fell sharply last week as slow consumer and producing prices, inflation and Jews increasing. Expectations that prices pressure will continue to moderate in turn leads to more dovish monetary policies. Last week, the U.S. then inflation shock altered the FX landscape, but a few days without key data releases will tell us whether that impulse can keep the dollar on the back foot as the FMOS risk event draws near. Francisco Peso, FX strategist at NIG, said the euro/dollar appears to be a overstretch in the short term and could face a correction this week. We added, the dollar index was last shown of 0.12% at 99.832 after falling to 99.574 on Friday, the lowest since April 2020. The euro gained 0.14% on the day to 1,242 after a early reaching 1.12445, the highest since February 2022, which was last year. It says the German Volksbank said on Monday that the Eurozone largest economy may shrink this year by more than 0.3%, declining to expect only a few weeks ago, despite the small bounce in the second quarter. The industry-heavy German is bearing the brunt of a drop in global demand for goods. The results of higher borrowing costs, dampening investments, the people spending more than leisure travel and other service panics in the aftermath of the pandemic. The German economic output may shrink slightly this year due to the energy price shock and tightening finance conditions, the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, said on Monday. The European Central Bank is also expected to rise interest rates by 25 base points next week. The dollar dipped 0.07% against the Japanese yen to 138.65 after dropping to 137.245 on Friday, the lowest since May 17th. This is Revelation chapter 18, verse 2. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon is fallen, is fallen, is become a habitations of deceivers, and a hole of every foul spirit, and a cage of unclean, and HATEFUL word. Right, as we could see, even though the market's been bouncing back a little bit, and somewhat the economy bouncing back, and somewhat of jobs increasing, and somewhat of the inflation easing, with the unemployment rate been up and down. The market's been up and down. But we still seeing signs of the American dollar continues to decline. Now some more than ever, and right along with the American dollar being at its weakest in a very long time. As we continue to see the nations are turning away from the American dollar. And I believe there was an article that came out. I believe there was one country of India and another country. I forgot what the other country was. And then they agreed to trade on the rupees, I believe. Rupees and silver as they turn away from the American dollar. So that shows you that during the whole year of 2023, we've been seeing the nations turning away from the American dollar. As we continue to see the American dollar continues to decline. We definitely been seeing it as of recently for the past 2 or 3 weeks, close to a month now. We've been seeing the impact of the dollar is weakening. So that shows you signs of Babylon's currency of the dollar, as it used to be a top global currency reserve, as the nations used to depend on it. Now the nations are turning away against it, and the nations are going to use the continual de-dollarization of the American dollar as a top global currency, right along with the euro dollar as well too. Even though it still has signs of the dollar that still has value, right along with the euro dollar as well too. But we definitely seeing signs of the decline of the American dollar. We're going to continue to see the decline of it as the nation of the nations turn from the American dollar, as we've been seeing the BRICS nations form their own form of currency. And very soon, I believe the BRICS nation is going to reveal this, I think this golden dollar reserve to overthrow the American dollar as being a top global currency reserve. So we're definitely seeing the signs of the American dollar continues to shrink. The value of the American dollar is continuing to shrink as well too, as it being a top global currency reserve. And as I've been mentioning again previously and doing sit down lessons on it, as we see the American dollar continue to crumble and on a decline, the first ever time since 25 years, So we're definitely going to continue to see. We're definitely going to continue to see how it plays out with the markets as well too. As I believe the Federal Reserve going to have a meeting on July the 25th and 26th. So we're going to see how the dollar reacts, and we're going to see how the market reacts of that as well too. So with that, hopefully this sit down lesson was edifying of this recent news article. As we see news article published by story published by Karen Brickell 6 hours ago. As it says again, dollar decline slow as investors wait on Fed, right? Because the Federal Reserve is going to have a meeting, I believe, July the 25th and through the 26th, as I was reading through the news article of that. So we're going to see how it plays out. See if it's going to still continues to decline of the American dollar, and see how the market's going to react for the next week or two or so. So with that, once again, hopefully this lesson was edifying. I would like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh Ba'Shem, Yahweh Shai Ba'Shem Karkadash. Shalom to the elders for preaching the word truthfully and sincerely. And shalom to the Akim, scattered the four corners of the globe, preaching the word truthfully and sincerely as well too. And until next time, I will say shalom.